seconds away. Studio 5 set sail to New Orleans to catch up with a favorite son, Tyler Perry.
Just behind all of that darkness, I see hope.
Perry shares hope and passion. Then,
I live for God.
the Saints are marching in, celebrating 50 years in the game. And this Louisiana native goes from YouTube to a record deal on Studio 5, starting now. And welcome to this special edition of Studio 5. As you see, this week Studio 5 is New Orleans, home to good food, good music, and the list goes on and on. This is also home to Tyler Perry. It's where he was born. We're sitting down with the native son in just a bit. But first, let's take a look at your top 5 from Studio 5. At number 5.
Your brothers are showing off again.
That's what they do, babe.
Empire star Trey Byers says his acting dream began as a kid at a Bible camp. Byers plays Andre, a bipolar man beginning his journey as a Christian. It's a fitting role for Byers, who says acting is his platform to share Christ. At number 4, morning country music legend Merle Haggard.
He's building me a cabin in the hill.
The private funeral was invitation only, but fans lined the gates with flowers. The iconic musician lives on with 2 albums in the top 5 on iTunes. At number 3,
the winner of American Idol Season 15 is Trent Harmon!
Trent Harmon whispered, "This is God's will," in the ear of his competitor.
Congratulations to Trent!
Voters crowned the Christian singer the final American Idol champion. He says, "Anytime I'm mentioned with a Carrie Underwood or Kelly Clarkson, I'm okay with that." At number 2, Emmy buzz surrounds Courtney B. Vance and the hit FX miniseries American Crime Story, The People vs. O.J. Simpson.
Thank you very much for having me.
And there's already news about another season. Next up, American Crime Story focuses on Hurricane Katrina, and the cast will include Vance and others from season 1. And finally, number 1, Hurricane Katrina is also part of the story of God with Morgan Freeman.
So right now, we're in flood country?
Yes, sir.
He takes us to New Orleans to meet the people who survived the historic storm and hear what role their faith played during the tragedy.
I just began to kneel down and pray.
And those are your top 5 from Studio 5, which, as you see once again today, is New Orleans. This city has given birth to some great things, and that includes Tyler Perry. We're sitting down with the native son to talk about growing up here and what's ahead.
It's good to see everybody. You having fun?
Tyler Perry is a Hollywood heavyweight. The playwright, filmmaker, and television producer runs a billion-dollar media empire. It was a long, hard Hollywood climb that began here in New Orleans, where he was born, and where we caught up with him for this rare television interview. How often do you come back?
Most of my family's gone since Hurricane Katrina. As a matter of fact, all of them. So I don't come back unless there's business or something going on. And since my mother passed, I don't get back a lot. But coming back now, there's a much different energy than when I was growing up here. I feel so much hope here now. It's very great.
Tyler's hometown gave birth to jazz, and the baby still fills the city's air with pop-up concerts on the streets. That rich music history is one reason Tyler returned home. He narrated the live Palm Sunday performance of The Passion Play for Fox Television. It was a musical first for the city and for the country. How does it feel to be back home doing this?
It's really exciting because I tell you, there's no better backdrop than New Orleans because it literally rose from a liquid grave. So to have this story being told of the resurrection in a town that was resurrected is powerful to me.
August 2005.
The clock is ticking here in New Orleans. Hurricane Katrina is closing in.
By all accounts and everything we know, this will be a catastrophic event.
Nearly 2,000 people died in Hurricane Katrina and the flood that followed. Millions were left homeless in New Orleans and along the Gulf Coast.
Your hometown, how significant is that for you that you're doing this?
You know, I was just thinking about it. My mother would have been so proud had she lived to see this moment.
That will become known to history as the Last Supper.
The modern musical take on the 2,000-year-old resurrection story was also a chance for Tyler to reach a younger audience.
We're 3 generations removed from the parents that would say, you're going to church. We're taking you to church. My mother was that kind of mother who said, I'm going to teach you about Christ. And the thought of children or people or young people not even knowing that when trouble comes, not even knowing what to turn to or how to turn to something, you're going to turn to something. But I want it to be God. I want it to be Christ.
Do you feel like your life was resurrected here?
I honestly, I felt like my death and burial were here. I felt like my resurrection was when I came out of here. So this was but all of those moments of the death and the fight and the struggle are also important to who you become.
Tyler was named after his dad, Emmett Perry. He changed his name to Tyler at 16 to put some emotional distance between the two of them. His father verbally and violently abused him before ultimately abandoning the family. The now successful grown-up Tyler wrote young Tyler this letter.
Dear child of God, in this picture I see you trying to smile, but that smirk is all you could muster. I know that you are having it really hard right now, and you spend a lot of time using your imagination, seeing yourself running in a park to get away from all the pain. I feel the horror of the hands of the molesters who are trying to rob you of who you are.
You were contemplating suicide at one point in your life.
Yeah, as a kid, absolutely, absolutely. In this town. Can you imagine? That's what I tell people, no matter how dark it is, no matter what's going on in your life, there is better coming, there is brighter coming. It's just like the story of the Passion, when that Christ had to go through all of these things so that he could be resurrected.
Can I get an amen for our choir?
Tyler Perry has gone from producing and starring in stage plays on the Chitlin circuit to writing, producing, and directing more than a dozen big-screen blockbusters. Many of those storylines point audiences to his personal faith.
I don't make any apologies for it. Nobody else makes any apologies for it. They don't make apologies for what they believe in or what they don't believe in, so I'm not making any apologies. This is what I believe. If it offends you, pray for me. Or if you don't pray, then talk to whoever you talk to about it. But no, I'm not apologizing for who I am, because I tell you, had it not been for the grace of God, I know for a fact that this had it not been for my mother teaching me about the old rugged cross and teaching me about Jesus, teaching me about Christ, I don't know where I'd be. I really don't know where I'd be.
You're a dad now, too.
Yeah.
Does that help to guide the projects you're doing in the future?
Oh, are you kidding me? That's why I'm doing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yeah, absolutely, because even the thought of what kind of world am I leaving for him, you know, and I want it to be something that is special, and I want him to know the God of his mother and his father, and understand that, and know that his father's faith and what he believed was so important to him, and that he should never depart from it. So that's what's important to me with him.
And fans need not worry. Tyler has no plans to abandon the role that started it all.
Madea! Hey, Hattie!
He'll keep playing Madea, the 6-foot, 60-something-year-old, no-nonsense grandmother.
Who are you? I'm deaf in a dress. Do you want to come get some?
Could Madea narrate The Passion?
Never. No, I'm so sick of that old broad. I'm so sick of that old broad. No, we're going to leave her for her Halloween movie, but no.
She's got a Halloween movie coming out.
Halloween comes out October 21st, but no, she will not be anywhere near The Passion, I can assure you. She doesn't know Jesus. She runs from him.
So we'll leave the Passion story for Tyler Perry to tell.
Tyler Perry is the big man behind the Madea character. He's also the man behind a musical first here in the Crescent City. More on that is coming up in just a bit.
Also still ahead,
Imagine no possession.
meet the man of faith and passion behind this hit television music series.
The stage is being dismantled following a musical first for the Crescent City and a musical first for the country. The staging of The Passion live here on the streets of New Orleans. Tyler Perry helped to bring it to his hometown. But the musical mastermind behind it all is Adam Anders. We sat down with him for part 2 of the interview.
The Passion came to New Orleans on Palm Sunday.
Peace be with you, teacher. Terrified the disciples, especially Peter.
The live 2-hour Fox television event brought unforgettable moments and unforgettable music. The man behind it is Adam Anders, the music producer who has sold more than 80 million albums. And he's developed songs for major motion pictures and television.
The music is beautiful. Love everything I heard. Do you have a favorite song?
It's tough to choose, isn't it? They're all my babies, like you said. Pierre Astrom, my partner, and I, you know, it sounds cheesy, we report a lot of passion into it, and I think it comes through in the arrangements. We really care about this. It's not just another project for us. So it's hard to pick one because they all kind of go together to me. It's like it's an organic, like it's a film score. You know, they're all tied together. So to me, the whole thing is one favorite thing for me.
If you don't know Adam's voice, you certainly know his work.
Imagine all the people.
He was the musical director for Fox Television's wildly popular series, Glee.
You're the man behind Glee as far as music goes. You just said that you're doing Dirty Dancing as well. Where does this project fit in your wide career?
This is the pinnacle. Honestly, to me, this is the highlight of my career. It's emotional for me. I grew up in the ministry with my parents are ministers, and for me to have this long career I've already had and really feel and see that everything I've been through in my life, everything I've done in my life and career to this point have led me to this. And you can't say that about a lot of things you do.
Have you ever felt that your work has been more of a ministry now than ever before?
Absolutely. Ministries, I think everyone's in the ministry, honestly, to some degree. Especially if you're a believer, you know, your life is your ministry. And I've always felt like, you know, I've never been called to ministry, to do, you know, music in church or Christian music like my parents did. I did start my career there, and I married a big Christian music superstar. But for me, it was always, I just want to do great, you know, work and maybe be a guy of faith, a man of faith in a town like Hollywood, and just do my thing.
Anders is married to singer Nikki Hassman, who performed with the Christian group Avalon. She also lent her voice to the choir on The Passion. The Passion only adds to Adam's impressive list of artists he's worked with in his long career of doing what he loves.
And I think that's what's cool about this project. Jesus' message was love each other. You know, the first mandate he gave us was to love each other, and we forget that all the time. And I think I want to be remembered for who I loved, not for who I didn't.
Jesus coming to life in 20th century on the streets of New Orleans. This city, how significant for this to be happening here?
You know, when Yako, the creator, and I decided to bring this to America, we're like, well, where are we going to do it? Because the idea is to do it in a different city every year on Palm Sunday, and hopefully make it an Easter tradition. You know, we celebrate Easter in this country, right? So we should know what the story is. But we're like, well, where do we start? You know, is it New York? Is it LA? Like, where is it? And it pretty quickly, you know, New Orleans jumped to the front because we realized no city has been through more suffering and resurrected itself like New Orleans. And so to tell a resurrection story in a resurrected city just made perfect sense for us. And then the bonus is it's a music city. It's a cultural city with great backdrops for all these scenes. It's a spiritual city.
No Studio 5 trip to New Orleans would be complete without a stop here at the iconic Superdome. It is home to the Pelicans and, of course, home to the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are actually celebrating 50 years of football here in the Crescent City. So let's head on inside for today's Faith on the Field.
I had seen a lot of my friends tear their ACLs, and some of them hadn't come back as good as they were before. You know, not as fast, not as mobile, whatever it might be. And so the thought of a torn ACL was devastating to me because I thought that I might be in the same boat as them, which was I wouldn't come back as strong. You know, why if football were not here for me, or for sports weren't here for me, you know, what's my calling in life? You know, what's my purpose? What am I here to do? You know, what's God's purpose for me? And for some reason, it all hit me. God was looking for a few good men to, you know, carry the torch and to represent the Christian faith and to, you know, to lead. And I just remember thinking to myself, man, I'd like to be one of those few good men. Ever since, you know, that moment in high school, when I truly accepted the responsibility of being a Christian and accepting Jesus into my heart and knowing that I'm living for a lot more than myself. I'm living for Him and the call that we all have as Christians. I knew that my faith was strong, and that as long as I relied on that and knew that there was a plan, the obvious choice would be the Miami Dolphins. And yet when you get past the surface and dig a little bit deeper, you see the heart and soul of a city that just needed somebody to believe in them. And here I was, just needing somebody to believe in me. I live for God, for the faith that I have in Him, and knowing the sacrifices that Jesus Christ made on the cross for me, and just feeling like it's in God's hands. And all I have to do is just give it my best, commit the rest to Him, and everything else is taken care of. I mean, that takes a weight off my shoulders. I think that would take a weight off anybody's shoulders. And it's to give you confidence, to know that you've got somebody looking out for you.
Still to come.
If I lost everything, yeah.
Bree shares the keys to her heart and her first recording project.
As you can hear, music and New Orleans go hand in hand. And perhaps no one knows that better than my next guest. She's a Louisiana native who went from being a YouTube sensation to a recording artist, and she's now released her first CD. Brianna Babineau is what's playing in my ear. Brianna Babineau goes simply by the name Bree. And while the Louisiana native is a new recording artist, she's been singing since she was just 3 years old.
So you started 3 or 4. When do you realize this may be something?
Maybe last year.
Oh, really?
It wasn't something, I don't know, it just wasn't something that I wanted to do. I knew I could, you know, I knew I could sing and things like that, but it wasn't, I didn't have a drive in me to want to do this. I love singing, but they had to make me sing, basically. I had to be forced to sing, forced to do it.
So what happened that made you, because you obviously love it now, because this is full-fledged.
This is full-fledged, yes. I love it now. I guess growing up, you see how important it is as far as ministry-wise. My father is a pastor, so at the age of 18, I got asked to be the praise and worship leader. So I had to fall in love with it.
I guess we could call you the social media darling, because it seems like that's how it started. Tell me what happened.
Okay, so, well, my friends, we do this YPFC, Young People for Christ, and we do these worship sessions where we just sing all night long, have fun and whatever like that.
A friend recorded her singing at that overnight meeting and posted it online.
When I was singing this song, all the hurt, all the pain, things that I was feeling, I just began to release it in the song, and I began to say, God, you know, I want a brand new start.
The video went viral with people responding from hundreds and thousands of miles away.
It was heavy on me. What I was thinking about, it was real heavy on me, and once I released it, I felt the weights being lifted. So just, you know, the place that I was in, you know, and it met somebody, to touch someone, that really blessed me.
Music executive Marquise Boone also saw the video and signed Bree to his record label with a music video and an album. It's been quite a busy year, but Bree did have to give up one thing.
I had a scholarship in track, full ride, but I gave it up.
You gave up a full ride to college as a track star.
How was I gonna do all of that? Running track, singing, that's too much. It was one or the other. I couldn't do everything.
Still ahead from Studio 5 in New Orleans, we're going back to the Superdome for a word from the NFL's Benjamin Watson. He's tackling the questions of race and racism. When Studio 5 sets sail next week, we leave New Orleans for Chicago, where film director Malcolm Lee takes us inside Barbershop The Next Cut.
Soul food to save food soul. Every delicious piece of beef helps keep a bullet off the street.
It's a challenging movie. Talking about gun violence, especially in the inner cities of Chicago. You can't set a movie right now in modern day without talking about gun violence in Chicago. I mean, in America, there's such a gun violence problem, but certainly in Chicago, you know, there's more deaths per capita, you know, than any place else in the United States.
And before I go, I want to give today's final word to another man with great ties to football and, of course, the New Orleans Saints. Benjamin Watson has a message that is sure to leave you encouraged.
The amazing thing about a football team is we can disagree and fight like brothers, but then we come back together. We are able to be open and honest about things that may offend us. A great opportunity to get past what somebody looks like, and then we leave there and kind of go back into the real world and have to deal with these different issues. As a Black American, there's a history of injustice from my grandfather and my father and my great-grandfather towards Blacks in this country. So as a Black man, I carry that. Racism is simply a symptom of sin. And sin is the foundation. Sin is something that we're all born with. So I have the propensity to be racist, to be prejudiced, to hate other people. Look, I need the blood of Christ too. Christ changes who we are on the inside and transforms our heart so that we can love other people that don't look like us. We need to reconcile in the church because we're the ones that should understand it. We're the ones that have been saved by grace. We're the ones that understand what it means to love unconditionally. We're the ones who understand forgiveness. Where is your heart? Can you forgive because your heart has been changed?
A wise word and the final word for this edition of Studio 5 from New Orleans. Until next time, reach out and touch me at Ephraim Graham on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And then come on back and see where Studio 5 takes you next week.